you don't be a high functioning individual. I mean, like high functioning. I hung from freaking trapeze. Like I had six packs abs until 2018. You don't go from hanging fat trapeze and driving tent stakes to wheelchair with a functional body. Do you know what they say with me? It's anxiety.
Or everything.
They blame everything on trauma, everything on anxiety. I end up in the hospital for malnutrition and dehydration. They blame it on PTSD. But if you watch the FND community and you watch all the techniques that they're using to get better, it's dysautonomia, it's EDS, it's MS. They're using all of the techniques to heal chronic illnesses, are meant to help people with connective tissue disorders and mast cells. When a doctor goes out of their way to emphasize social circumstances on your medical chart, it stigmatizes the patient and refocuses the attention away from the physical symptoms and onto the patient's social situation.
Welcome back to Occult Awareness podcast, and I'm your host, Amy. In this last episode, Aella shared her journey with being diagnosed with functional neurological disorder without looking at all her physical injuries in the past. And we explored the systemic issues faced by patients with mental health histories. So today, let's dive into part 2 of Aella's story. Also, we dive deeper into these experiences and the broader implication on patient care. Now, let's return to our conversation with Aella. Stay tuned and more insights and advocacy.
My mast cells are nuts. Like, that was the one thing I got diagnosed extremely easily. I got to see this one doctor, Dr. Aella, and it's actually an interesting and interesting dynamic there because I happen to know other patients that get to see her more frequently because they have, mama bears and better insurance. So I get to see her about once a year, but she's a very good doctor. So when you go to get your mast cell tested, you got to do the whole P-test thing, and she tells me, then I go do the test. She's like, "All right, we're gonna give you like 3 big jugs, and just remember, you can try as many times as you like. It takes people a couple tries. Don't worry, don't worry." And this was right before Christmas. I thought it was funny because my mom had sent me her cookies, which are, but I was like, somebody's got to eat them. So I delivered pea and cookies to the hospital. Um, and about, I don't know, a week later, I get a call from Dr. Iwala's like second in command. And she's like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." I'm like, "What? What? We've never seen this." I'm like, "What? It's not that this doesn't happen, but we've never seen this." And I'm like, "What? What the hell? What?" She's like, "You have it." I'm like, "Yeah, you haven't seen that? This is your thing, you know?" She's like, I hit 2 markers. So there's 3 markers that you're supposed to hit. Most people have trouble hitting 1. I hit 2, the first time, and then I hit 2 the second time, but even more so. They're not used to that. Um, and then um, what they do to treat mast cells, which I'm sure you know, is they prescribe you Xolair. I went in for my Xolair shot, and that went well for about 15 minutes. And then I had a seizure and anaphylactic. It was about the end of that. Um, and then I had a absolutely horrible ER event where I ended up at the ER for about 12 hours. I was supposed to be admitted immediately, but was not. And it was in the middle of like the height of COVID. I was not happy. I was having PTSD events because there was like a oxygen tank that fell into my like curtain room, and then like the police came in with this screaming guy, and like a doctor came in and was like, "Are you having a PTSD?" And I'm like, "I have PTSD, but not a PTSD." So yeah, my life is ridiculous. I chalk it up to Medicaid. Try to blame the system.
Well, the system definitely has its own little fault. And it's not just the Medicaid, it's the whole entire healthcare system.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's like I responded to another post today that was like, do doctors understand how scary it is to be a chronic illness patient? And a doctor responded that that wasn't fair. There are plenty of doctors that are chronically ill. I'm like, but there aren't plenty of doctors that are the type of chronically ill that is scary.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't lie. The person that answered like the most poignantly was a girl that she's like, my daughter has Addison's disease, and she goes, when it got so bad that there wasn't any leg left for her to put a prosthetic on, she asked her mom why did her let her live. She's like, how do you explain that to a doctor? How do you how do you get a doctor to understand that? Like you can't. You can't. It's so heartbreaking. And like that grief is you can't you can't put a finger on it.
I mean, the fact that there's a lot of doctors didn't really even try to understand.
Like I think the other thing is like there's like the doctor culture. Like that's like kind of the camaraderie that goes in like that medical system, that ego, like that alpha type kind of just goes there. Can't tell them nothing.
Yeah.
Like that chapter they read. Let me tell you.
Even good ones that, I feel like I can't talk too much about that, but I definitely can agree that
Yeah.
even those also have type of little ego.
Yeah. You're just like, ah. No, kind of like one girl I follow, she has MS and she goes to get her pain medication altered and the doctor looks at her and goes, "Have you tried grounding?" It's like, "No, I came here for pain meds. I want to stick my feet in the dirt." It's like, "Service me, help me." Like,
Like the doctor
no.
asking for doing yoga.
See?
Like,
Exactly. It's like that that is not your place. Like
yeah.
it's like there's a time and a place for that kind of like medicine, and it's not in the doctor's office. I don't I don't feel like I feel like that's for the individual to seek out for themselves. Like that's lifestyle stuff, you know. It's religion kind of stuff.
Yeah, a little bit spiritual things. But
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people do take it as religion.
so I was thinking right now at this point would be sort of like your main goal you want to achieve. I know that you got yourself a good color.
hmm
Um, does that help? And how long do you wear it right now?
So I wear my neck brace whenever I'm like obviously going to be sitting up for quite a while and don't know if I'm going to be moving around a lot or ticking a lot. Um, I have a really obnoxious tick where I throw my head back. Um, um, but I typically don't wear it all day. No, not at all. That would be counterproductive. Um, and I wear it in the car, but
Yeah.
that's about it. Um, and I just had a feeling today with the moving. Um, and moving forward now that I have exhausted the neurologist in my area, I just went to my general practitioner today, and that's why I'm all bigged up. I'm a blood test. Got my tramadol shot. Um, I my goal right now is to get my so I have several support teams. I have I'm not just like out here winging it homeless. Um I have a care agency that comes and sees me weekly. They also come and bring me food to supplement the very meager $66 a month. Um, I also have a mental health agency that works in tandem with a housing initiative that I got myself involved with about 5 years ago, going on six. And that is a long-term program that is actually really amazing, and it's designed for disabled people. So back a couple of years ago, North Carolina got into some big doo-doo with the disability community. They actually were so bad that there was legislation drawn up. They were placing disabled and mentally ill people in psychiatric housing and yeah, inappropriately and keeping them there. Yeah. So this woman won the case and she created what is known as the TCL program. So it was used to be the TCLI program, which was making it an initiative. It is now full-blown legislation. And what it does is it provides the person a choice of housing, whatever it is that they need. So I could have chose to pick my housing independent of support and just gone and winged it, and they would provide me with financial support and community support that I could set up and connect and do everything solo and independent of them, and they wouldn't even come near me. Or they could do what I chose, which is the TCL program, which gives me Peyton and Sam. I should have a full team of four, but I had problems. Um, I now have two, and they are my CST team, which is a care support team. And they bring me back and forth to the hospital, do anything I need. Peyton, again, is a licensed therapist. He's my therapist that comes weekly. Um, and they're basically my backup team for anything. And and then I also have when they do find housing, and that is the thing that's really the bitch. Sorry, language. It's there's not a lot of accessible housing, and the program has to find a landlord that will work with the program. So the landlord has to be willing to be up to code, work within the government program, and be willing to make the house or apartment or whatever accessible. So it's smaller than all the houses that are available, the list. So that takes a little bit longer. Um, and I'm still waiting. Um, and they're actively looking now, which is nice. You have to wait until your name is up. And when I do get placed, the house will be accessible, met to all my standards for a wheelchair user. I will also get a boost in my living stipend because obviously you can't pay rent with $900 a month. So they'll increase it to pay the rent and be able to live comfortably. And they will also give me community support, and I will have a nurse aide. I have up to 150 hours a month they've gotten me. Um, and there'll be a number of other things that will also be added, like furniture and things like a bed and accessible like things that I can add into the house. So it's a really excellent program. It's just really, really exhausting and very long. So but I mean, it's no better than Section 8 where you wait years. So it will be accessible.
Good.
That's
Yeah.
that's the real kick.
I think we need some initiative here. I mean, I need to dig a little bit more. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, uh, it's not very friendly here. And I mean, you know about Social Security income
Yeah.
stuff. Um, if you marry, it's not possible, especially the other half is working. So you get
Exactly.
0 hours.
Yeah. It's rough. And like they state of North Carolina will not let me work any hours. And it's like, and the cap it used to be 2,000 in your account. Now it's 1,700. It's like ridiculous.
You can't really own anything.
No, nothing. And like the cars have to be like older ones. You can't have a newer car. I'm just like, what? And in this area, you have to own a car to get around.
But
It's
then you
like,
have
what?
to, like, you consider about the disability that often people wanted to have an accessible van, right? Do you have
Right.
good relational like rehabilitation?
So, I've gone around to a number of places and like I said, I've ended up going back to the woman that I've been with for 6 years. Um, like the PT because I end up um getting people that don't clearly understand EDS. Like I ended up at this one place that it seemed hopeful. His Feldenkrais method. It's a different kind of like functional movement um like exercise where you're doing a lot more isometric exercises, so you're not putting a lot of weight on your body. And it would have worked better, say, had the instructor been a little more well versed. Honestly, I'd say in physics and working with autistic people, like, because our prior perception is very off. And like n a lot of the time, like I was saying flat out what I needed, and I feel like he was trying to read into it. You know, like it was like a neurotypical like autism, like misconnect. Like I'd be like, let's use a mirror, and he'd not get it. It's like there's nothing to that statement. Get a mirror. Just never happened. Yeah. And and then I had this other younger guy that my tics were really bad then. And my I was not doing very well then either. And he seemed to exacerbate everything. Um He had me do these cross body exercises that seemed to make me extremely dizzy. Um, and then he had me do this one head exercise where I put my head up and I'd faint every time.
Yeah, I
And
did it.
yeah,
Like
it's weird.
the extension, especially before surgery.
Yeah, yeah. When I'm in the pool, whenever I straighten my body up completely because I have kyphosis, like I am not sitting straight up right now. Um, they Courtney is the one I've known for 6 years. She prepares to catch me because my body just starts wiggling.
Yeah,
I start spazzing
yeah,
as every time. I cannot straighten my body without spazzing. It's another sign that I'm just like, can we figure out what the hell's going on here? Because like, it should be able to straighten up by now. You know? And then yeah, it's just weird.
And
It's like another reason why I'm like, Spinal Tap, come on.
uh it's like a disconnection, like the PT actually
Yeah.
sees it, but then like they're not credentialed enough for the neurologist to really taking their opinion.
Yeah. And like I don't have much feeling in my lumbar region. Like it's very, very weird. And then today was really strange too. I had blood taken and a shot in my left arm, and I did not sense the needle in either instance. I was very wigged out by that. It was very weird. It's like, did I get, did you start?
Yeah.
Because I mean the second I walk into the blood lab, the tech walks over and grabs my arm because they're like, oh, she's here. Hold her down. The first time I came in there, the tech is so fast with me. I mean, like she's a whiz. Just like the fastest blood tech I've ever met in my life, the botanist, whatever. I usually call her a vampire when I come in there. I'm like, how are the vamps today? But the other one comes in. She's like, "Oh, Miss Ticky's here." She comes in, grabs my arm, and is like, like yeah. But yeah, she comes in, and the first time she holds my arm down, and I'm just like. Yep, not happening. Yeah. I like the techs and the nurses that like make your day, you know. It's like it makes it all bearable.
Yeah. It,
They really do.
yeah. And it actually sounds like, like you do have a lot of dystonia as well. Like very typical, right?
Yeah.
Seems like
Yeah.
patient actually see really clear, but like, yeah, the
Yeah.
disconnection of, uh,
It's
um,
kind of hilarious.
yeah. I know you're in North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have actually my neuro PT is in that state. And that this is our project.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
I'm uh I'm hoping that like my next steps I'm thinking will be to do some more research on who will listen and to kind of reach out of town, out of state, because clearly it's not happening. And I got my main doctor to agree to like help me out and get them to not look at my like chart, like see if I can get them to listen without like maybe look at the imaging but not look at the notes,
Yeah.
you know. That's kind of what I'm hoping I can get happen,
Have
you
you
know.
seen your own imagings?
Yeah, yeah, I have. And I I do not see Chiari. So don't and I have a friend, like one of my best friends from back in the day. Her son and her daughter have ELES and all have Chiari and have had the surgery. So I had them look at my scans as well. And they're like, you seem in the clear with that. Um, but they agree that CCI is inconclusive and that I should probably get better imaging. like, and especially of my spine, because like when they do the full spine, it's not the full spine, like they you have to get specific areas, like they got to know what they're looking for. And um the other part of it is like um I have absolutely nothing in the area where it's injured, like with flexion or with any kind of like functional imaging or anything like that. So you're really not seeing it from any other angle than upright, or not upright, from laying down, you
Supine.
know.
Yeah.
Supine. Yeah, that's what it was.
So like when
So,
you have most symptom is upright and but then they don't
yep,
imagine that.
exactly. The only time I'm not symptomatic is when I'm laying down.
So then they lay you down and they take the picture and then they're like, it looks good.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah.
Doesn't seem to make sense to me.
I do think there has to be more upright MRI places that, available.
Yeah,
And then you can still do it in the supine position, but it's just they know how to do it. Like, they have to
exactly.
lay you, but it's not weight bearing. That's the problem. I
Yeah.
think weight bearing is pretty important.
Yeah. I um I really feel like a lot of these functional diagnoses would go away if they were just doing, you know, a the MRIs when people are saying they're symptomatic. It's and a lot of the other functional diagnoses would go away if people actually looked at what the doctors were doing, because I quote my PT, "What did your doctor actually do in the appointment?" She looks at the notes and they don't actually show any doctoring. You get a functional diagnosis, but there's no evidence or testing or questioning that's actually written or shown to it. They're not showing their work, because there isn't any work to be had. It's showing their laziness right up front. And that's why so many of us are saying this isn't a real diagnosis.
Well, the thing is that maybe because you had a lot of mental issues
Yeah,
that it's written in the chart. So if it isn't, um, then the neurologist seems still skeptical. I don't know if you ever feel that
yeah.
way.
So I I feel like the way I put it is that clearly social circumstances are going to impact somebody's health. But when a doctor goes out of their way to emphasize social circumstances on your medical chart, it stigmatizes the patient. It refocuses the medical care and refocuses the intention away from the physical symptoms and onto the patient's social situation. Also, if you emphasize in a physical health situation a person's mental care, then the physical health of that patient is then shifted away from their physical care and then onto their mental care. So now, again, in a physical health field, the mental health is now taking precedence. So you're going to your general practitioner and you have strep throat and yet they're still asking about your bipolar disorder. I don't feel that is an appropriate place. I don't think your GP should be diagnosing any kind of psychiatric disorder. I don't think they should be giving out those depression screeners that A, go split with chronic illnesses. I don't actually answer those anymore because the last appointment I had with my last GP um, is proof why I don't do them. I My last appointment with her was at 4:30 in the afternoon. I waited 2 hours after my appointment time, which I showed early um, to see her. During my waiting time, she came into the room and asked me if I had anybody with me. I told her no, if I had a ride waiting, and she said, "Oh, good."
A way longer.
That was so insulting. And then by the time she came in, she, apologized for me waiting or whatnot. But then when I recorded this doctor's appointment, she went on to, this is right after I got out of the hospital, and a hospital visit that she never took note of, never called, never followed up on, nothing. She has in the past, did not this time. She nothing. Didn't prescribe anything, didn't check up on my welfare, nothing at all. My new doctor, who I had already seen, by the way, um, before going back to her, it was kind of perfunctory to go see her just so I could get my meds in order. Um, uh, they had already ordered me protein shakes, a whole battery of vitamins, and antibiotics to make sure that there weren't any infections or anything else, just run of the mill, make sure, check up. They also got me in touch with, another community social worker to make sure that I could get more meals. Yeah, good stuff. But my doctor, nothing. Um, she ended up writing after I was upset with her timing and the fact that she stopped typing when I listed my symptom. Um, she ended up diagnosing me with adjustment disorder and adding to my notes the depression screeners that I did years before, because I hadn't been doing them. So that's why I don't do them anymore, because the only purpose that they have is leverage. Because when you take them, you have to answer something, and nobody is going to say zero to all. And when you answer one,
Yeah.
you have depression.
I don't know. I even had a pressure, feel like I need to say zero all the time.
Exactly. It's so I I found a training video on YouTube for social workers, care workers, and everything on these screeners. It's really enlightening. They're essentially trained to judge people. Hmm. So these screeners, there's a lot of different kinds of screeners. Um, but they're trained to read people's body language, how they're dressed, how they appear, what they say, what they do, how they respond to having a screener taken, how they walk in the door, if they're tired, if they look awake, if they look like they're on drugs, did they drink too much coffee? Do they look homeless? Everything is assessed. It's very gross. It's akin to like eugenics. I really feel that because it's placing humans upon a class in society. And that's why I don't feel like any of this is appropriate in physical medicine. None of it is. That's why a functional diagnosis isn't appropriate because you're stating whether a human is functional or not. A part of a human is functional or not. What are you saying? Why is it functioning or not functioning? That's what we're here for. That's why we're here to see the doctor. We don't want to hear that it's just not functioning. We want to know how to make it better. And like I get it. You have all these people out here that are like, yeah, so we have the FND and we're seeing all these specialists and they're making it better. But if you watch the FND community and you watch all the techniques that they're using to get better, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's dysautonomia, it's EDS, it's MS. They're using all of the techniques to heal all of these chronic illnesses. You know what I mean? They're using the regulation techniques of the vagus nerve. They're using the techniques to calm dystonia. They're using techniques that are meant to help people with connective tissue disorders and mast cells. Is a lot of techniques that are applied to a lot of different disorders.
Well, because otherwise, like the real FND technique, it wouldn't work. I've seen
Exactly.
so many cases that tell me that it never worked. But then
Yeah.
the FND physio, for example, didn't really care as
Yeah. It's so vast. There's too many like symptoms that apply.
yeah. I mean, it's like you feel like it's so obvious, right?
That's what I think.
So, um, I know that there isn't really enough fundings for, looking into our brainstem. So it's all
Hmm.
blamed to the brain
Hmm.
function.
Exactly. The most mysterious organ that we have, the one that has the least amount of like concrete science on it.
Well,
You
they
know,
have some. They have a
they have some, yeah, but
traumatic
it,
brain injury.
yeah, but it's like there's a lot we know, but there's a lot we don't know. And to like to peg it all on trauma and to be like, well, it's gotta be. It's just like that's all it's putting a lot behind those words.
I mean, it is, and then essentially you said that too. Like it is quite a lazy diagnosis for many
Exactly.
of these misdiagnoses. Yeah,
It's doing a lot of work.
and yeah, it's kind of also funny how like the function we are kind of in between, right? So
Yeah.
they always say traumatic brain injury brings them, oh, they wouldn't survive. I mean, like, oh, so you guys survive, so you don't really have the problem. Um, it's
Yeah, exactly.
it's essentially with the the people who doesn't really have a spinal cord injury and people who actually have a complete, but that in between of all these incomplete is that variable.
Yes. Yeah, that's somewhere in between. It's like well, you don't fit the mold. Like, I never have. Work with me. Like, there's always anomalies. Like, you would think they would be really interested in anomaly, but no. And there's going to be a whole bunch more of them right now because of COVID. Like, a lot more, because there's a lot more cases of POTS coming out now. And a lot more dysautonomia. So I can only imagine what the future brings.
New questioning the dysautonomia, if that is actually linked with whatever like we're not looking at.
True. Very true. Solid statement. It's like, I mean,
Is
essentially vagus nerve dysfunction.
mm,
Sorry.
mhm.
Like just went spazzy. Gotta
Well,
love it.
I was told once I was like literally I had a video actually. I put it into. It's like
Yeah.
I was like I need to report this, and then I told my spinal cord injury specialist. I said, well, then I have this twitching, like like in the neck spasm.
Yeah.
It's not. She's like, it's not possible. I'm like, huh? Yeah.
I I'm like, well, like, let's see this. I have a massage therapist I see every now and then, and every time I see him, he's like, he puts my jaw back in place, and he's like, before I met you, I didn't believe people could literally just like be themselves out of dislocation. He's like, do you just talk your face out of place? Like, probably. He's always putting his like, he's got to do this thing where he like snaps my jaw back down. It sucks. Oh, and it's always dislocated, and I never know it. The first day I met him, he he said to me, "Did you know you talk through your teeth?" And I didn't know. I was literally talking like this, and I had no idea that my jaw was dislocated, and that this is how it's talking. I was talking literally like tripping over my tongue. And so the first time I saw him, I was talking like this, and then he unhinged it, and then I could talk a little bit like this, and I went from here to there.
Yeah.
It's
I
insane.
I noticed that I couldn't really open my mouth really wide. It must be a little issues with
Since
the jaw.
yeah, it's pretty amazing when you're like, wait, I can eat more food now, huh?
Yeah. Or my dad's like, open up, I feed you. And I was like, "Ugh, I cannot open it."
Yeah, you're like, wait, there's a rubber band attached to my face. Oh. Like, oh no. Like to not even realize it. I was just like, oh, oh, I can't do that. Oh man. Like so many things that like I like the first time I learned I had EDS was I was in that first apartment I got go funded into, and the girl that I went to high school with I was talking on Zoom with. And at the time I was still able to stand. I was in the loftus crutches, and I I was standing in the kitchen, and she screenshotted me, and well, actually her husband did, and he's like, "Did you tell her that she has EDS?" And I'm like, "ED what?" And they're like, "Yeah, your knees go backwards." I'm like, "What?" So they showed me a picture of myself with my knees going backwards. And then for the rest of the night, I sat there talking to her husband, going, "Yes, yes, yes, that happened. Oh my God."
I'm more like my friend found out how weird I was, like twisting my legs together, like on my
Yeah,
blanket.
yeah.
I don't know, like it's
The whole pretzel thing.
yeah, yeah. I really like to do that. I don't know, there was a comfort, but now I can do it because I can move my leg. So,
Makes sense. Makes much sense.
oh, but
I
I
just
love this
hold
process.
this thing. I can still do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm paralyzed, but then I still can
Yeah.
be flexible. But definitely my leg is a lot harder right now to move.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Mine is like I all that time in the circus, and I never knew like how flexible I was.
Yeah, like you can be in some show and just like
Right. Like I did all these like tricks and everything, and I never took advantage of the flexibility. Like, come on, girl. Like you could have easily had a rubber girl routine.
Do you think if you get the help, the imaging you need, and the right doctor, um,
Yeah,
and whatever, like, it's possible for you, like, getting a funding or whatever?
I'm hoping so. There's this thing that I'm hoping to apply for called the innovation waiver. It's basically a like Medicaid waiver. It's like gives you like I don't know, make a wish pass, kind of like one procedure or something like that that you really need, they'll pay for it and they'll cover, or a doctor or something like that. So if I need something really good, like they'll cover it. Um, the the thing I'm really hoping for is to get to a doctor that understands EDS and can really just keep tabs on me in case everything gets worse. Because it is degenerative, and I want to make sure I know what kind of damage has been done, what kind of damage is continuing, because I know I have degenerative discs in my cervical spine. And I know that I have osteoarthritis. I know like I have a lot of torn ligaments and that kind of thing. There's a lot of injuries that are known. There's a lot of places that are lacking feeling. There's a lot of places that are already problem areas. And I don't have a doctor that is going to be on my side and knows enough about EDS that can like be ahead of it. My GP he's on my side and he's good, but as a GP, he doesn't he's willing to research and learn, but he doesn't already know. I need a specialist that can be more advanced. that can be ahead of the curve. And that's kind of what I've been looking for because I've never had it. I've never had somebody that's ahead of me. I need somebody that can do the research, can make sure I'm safe, can make sure in the future I'm if I do need the surgeries, I can get them. Because right now, I don't have anyone on my side. I have no major specialist other than the mast cell specialist who isn't actually on my side. I see them once a year, you know? They're just a specialist I see that will manage my mast cells. They're not going to go above and beyond for me? So, and actually she's kind of a another one of those ego people. I quote, said the words, I can't be misogynistic. I'm a woman. We'll just let that one fly. Um, but we still work with her. Um, and so it's like I do my best with what I have.
Yeah. There are some specialists that they do their job on their field. And like we have them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The train's passing and self train. I have to check self train. We live like no, train 2 blocks from a train, and it is the bane of my existence.
Yeah. So I feel like the paper about Down syndrome, uh,
No.
talking a lot about the possibility of the instability, because they always somehow cannot keep their head up. I'm
Mm,
wondering we need some research for the hyperextension.
yeah, that makes sense.
For
Huh.
example, yeah, especially with ticks, like if you go backwards like that, but then if you go backwards without the color, you will faint. And I actually had the same feeling. And I'm like
Yeah.
against this before surgery. I was like, no, don't do it. And then I hyperextend and passed out.
Yeah. Huh. I'd be interested in reading that paper.
Things
Yeah.
I get bilateral decompression. That means if
Okay.
it doesn't really get decompressed, it's poking at my
Yeah.
brainstem.
Hmm. It's interesting because it's one of the feelings that I always describe to the neurologist is that I have this feeling like my brainstem is kind of like piercing my head, like kind of like my head's kind of like resting on this like teeter totter, you know, like kind of like it's just like up there.
Yeah. You kind of can feel
Yeah,
like I do
kind of.
like bumping to it.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like you're just like bouncing it up there. That's where I get my occipital pain so much.
Yeah.
And I'll end up like pulling my head up and like trying to release it. It it
The
sucks.
color definitely do something. I do feel like whenever you get a color in it releases that pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I was just going to put my feelers out anywhere and everywhere because
Yeah.
I was just like, do the research and just figure out where they'll take you because like
Mhm.
you're not medicated. Yeah, I had this doctor at Duke said they don't have one near us, so yeah, gonna have to go out of state.
Yeah.
Duke is like it's upscale in one respect, and then in another respect, they have like the world's smallest exam rooms.
Mhm.
Like Like every single nook and cranny has been accounted for. Like they um they have this old castle that was first converted into their first building, and that's like the entrance to the first main part of the hospital. And some of those exam rooms literally were closets.
I never
I
heard
can
that.
literally fit my wheelchair, the exam room, or the exam table, the computer, and like literally a stool for the doctor. It's like and like the table for like the supplies. That's it. Like there's no turning room. Like it's really wild. And like to get to the exam rooms, you're going down like this really small corridor. You're like, where's Harry Potter? Like, yeah, it's really wild.
Duke is
Oh
also
God.
really, really seem to be the big ones before leading
Yeah.
to a lot of like CSF leak, um, or SIH. Then I hope that it's also for
hmm
IIH that issues. Um,
Yes. I had said I got my IH diagnosed.
mhm. Yeah, I'm waiting for. Uh, I'm about to update you all about my new neurologist. So that would be it. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It's just they only have this much skills, and um yeah, I really like the way that you brought up the questionnaire, those depression and mental health screening,
Yeah.
and also the very important thing about the structure issues, as somehow like most of things are directed towards mental health, but then without any psychiatric training.
Yeah. Exactly. They're not qualified.
Oh, but then they think they qualify, they have an MD, they can prescribe drugs, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing with neurologists. Like the last neurologist I saw, like not only did you say that gross statement, but she literally explained away her reasoning as, well, yes, I'm a doctor, so I can say this. I have the credentials. You don't. And that's where I say, you haven't lived in my body and had my experience. How does your credentials have any merit? Because literally all you're doing is with an FND diagnosis is going off of hearsay because that's literally all you have to go off of when you are working with mental diagnosis. Um, and that's why I don't feel physical uh, medical doctors have good groundwork. Psychiatric medical doctors, they have a rapport. They understand the field. They understand notes, and their notes are a lot more comprehensive. They're structured in a specific way. They are confidential and they concern specifically the patient, not their symptoms. So when you have physical a doctor, what they're putting out there is your personal details that are now made public, and they're expounding on them, and then they're taking those very personal details, judging you on them, putting those judgments in public place. And then later down the line, other doctors make judgments upon those judgments. And then even farther down the line, those judgments get judgments made upon those judgments. And then other doctors think that they're qualified to make judgments upon those judgments. And then you get diagnoses that are very unqualified. You have no recourse. Yeah. What can you do? Those are your words. Are they? Are they the interpretation of your words based on somebody else that was unqualified to interpret them in the first place?
Yeah. Definitely had a same experience like that. Good
Mhm.
submarines. And then
Exactly.
made with all the subjective things. And then down the line, it's the same copy and
Exactly.
paste. Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you. That's really unfortunate.
But yeah, but then that's what exactly you brought up with is that exact problem that I think there are so many things that we wanted to change in the healthcare that makes us patient somehow in that picture.
Hmm.
Is that very
And
one
we have
thing?
no
But
control.
yeah, but if what do you think is the most important for you that it make the biggest difference?
One thing I could change, it would be that the doctors are the only people who can change our notes. The doctors themselves. That I don't think is fair. I think that we should have more ability over our own medical records, more autonomy over them. I also feel like when medical records are um, tainted, misrepresented, or something like that, or there's an incident with the doctor, you shouldn't be required to re-engage with the doctor. Um, and um, and that's where it becomes really contentious that the doctor themselves is the only one that can remove the thing that they said that is negative and really it could be illegal, like a medical diagnosis they're not qualified to give, or something truly heinous or discriminatory or even racist, anything at all. You know, I had a doctor tell right after an OT appointment, one where she and a couple doctors were supposed to have a meeting about me and come up with a medical plan for me. What happened is they got together and gossiped about me and then come up with nothing. I was upset by this and raised my voice. She recommended that I needed a chaperone to come to OT appointments. And then she wrote that I was an aggressive woman. Um, I contested this and won. Um, and like I shouldn't have had to go back to another appointment with her and then had to deal with her coming to that appointment with a chaperone for me. And and then had to bring that up with the patient relations. They have more power than we do. And they can manipulate that through the system. When you don't come with, a mom, a husband, or somebody else, you have less power than they do. And I don't think that's fair in the patient, doctor culture. I think that we should have more autonomy and more control over our welfare and our notes, then call patient relations so that they can send you a letter saying, sorry, this happened. You know, that's pretty much what it amounts to, because nothing ever gets removed or changed unless you have a good rapport with the doctor.
Yeah. It still doesn't get changed. Amendment
Safe.
sometimes can put it underneath what it's supposed to, but
Yeah,
I think you quite understand the chronic illness people that sometimes don't really have that
yeah.
energy.
That's the other part, the energy to do it. Um, I feel very fortunate when I'm like right now I'm in an upswing. I've just gotten the PANS medication. I've just started it on an upswing. It's starting to work. I I'm doing a little better. I've been getting consistent PT appointments. The food has been coming consistently to me. So yeah, I've been doing a little better. I've been able to dedicate the time and energy to do more appointments and do more research and be more personally engaged. Like I, what I say is nothing happens in my care unless I personally stir the pot. Like unless I get involved in my housing, unless I physically like act in it. Um, and it's why I don't mind when people say that, I'm a strong woman or whatever other derogatory term they want to add to strong woman, because it's what I got to do. But not everybody can do it. And I recognize that. And I recognize I can't be that every day. That's why I have so many support systems in place. That's why I have so many agencies in place, because I need that ride to the hospital. And I have those months when I physically can't lift my own body, and I can't make myself food, and I can't get myself water, and I can't even push my own wheelchair, like I have a smart drive on this like you have. Uh I there have been days I've been stuck in the bathroom because I can't make it over the little hump out of the door. It's a privilege to be doing well. And it's like they don't get that. They don't get that, to be able to physically go to an appointment instead of doing the telehealth appointment, like it's a big deal. And every single time that we show up is effort, and may mean I have a flare, like something as stupid as some lady shows up into the waiting room with an exorbitant amount of perfume. I have a mast cell attack. Nothing I can do about it. That's it. I'm sneezing my freaking head off and turning into a cherry.
They don't really see what happened day to day at all. So,
No.
of course, 15 minutes where the nodes are full of functioning is going not to be the good place.
Yeah. I have aquagenic urticaria and I do aquatic therapy. They don't put two and two together. I love my aquatic therapy, but they don't understand that every single time that I get out of it, I have to go straight to the shower, and then I have to lather my entire body in ointment. when I go to aquatic therapy, it is a 2-hour ordeal. It's exhausting. Like I go and I do the therapy, and then I have to recover from the therapy, then I have to recover from the shower that I did with therapy, then I have to recover from putting the ointment on just so that I can drive myself back.
You
Like,
were talking about that your whole body spasm, like, dystonia. Yeah. So it's like you will have to experience that because you're doing therapy.
yeah, I'm very much looking forward to getting a nurse aide.
I hope. Yeah.
Uh, please work out. Please,
Yeah.
please work out.
Yeah.
I need one so bad.
And I know you probably read a lot and you saw my story as well. They'd always say it didn't get better, like you guys said. I only get worse. Um, yeah, I'm just hoping that you can get a specialist and then,
Me too.
go
I'll
from
fight for it. I'm a tough one. And I'm not one to stay quiet.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an advocator.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, being here and then like talk about all that. I think it's so important. And you brought
Yeah.
up actually quite a lot good points. I think that
Thank
letting us to think about and especially raise support system that you got.
Yeah.
I think you're actually quite resourceful. Um,
Thank
and
you.
you might help a lot of people around.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we get to talk because I love your stuff and I've been following you for quite some time. And as a fellow musical person, you make me want to pick up an instrument again.
That would be
I,
great.
yeah, I played flute and sax back in the day, and I yeah, with my finger hypermobility, I'm just like, maybe I should. I do crochet now. Uh, that's my and I paint a lot. But now I'm seeing what you can do. I'm just like, maybe I should.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually on the project besides this. This is like the first step. And I'm hoping that we getting some more fundings and,
Cool.
it's maybe sponsorship. That's why we need to push this one a little bit more further.
That sounds fabulous. Well, keep me posted.
Yeah.
And it's just sharing the love and the beauty of it. It just really, coheses humanity. Like I feel like the compassion and the love just needs to be brought back out. It's just missing right now.
I need to show people about the little picture that I learned from Beat Summit. Like their research right now funnel gets bigger with non-traumatic spinal cord injury, and
Hmm.
that's where it is. Like there's so many of us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just getting awareness out, so people really start looking and stop with the lazy. I like that because I feel like there's just so much misunderstanding around it. And I feel like the history is really misunderstood and is forgotten. And that's a really key and missing point because the fact that it's really 90% women really needs to be mentioned.
Yeah.
That's kind of sinister.
Thank you.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye.
If you found this episode in any way enlightened you, please consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. And your feedback really will help us grow and reach more listeners. Follow us also on social media at Occult Awareness with _ to stay connected and informed about our upcoming episode. And also remember, your story matters, your health matters, and you are not alone in this journey. Until next time, keep striving for knowledge and awareness. Bye for now.